Hi everyone, this is the usual weekly podcast series of Staex, and here with you today are, as usual,
Alexandra.
You took me by surprise. And Ivan. Okay. This message was all over the news. It's called "Just One Bad Packet Can Bring Down a Vulnerable DNS Server Thanks to DNSSEC." Staex provides the most secure public network where companies can connect their IoT devices easily.
Subscribe to our channel where we share our experience in IoT industry and educational content.
Forget about their problems with cybersecurity once and for all. Covering this topic, Ivan, can you please, first of all, remind to our audience what is DNSSEC? Maybe even starting a little bit with a refreshment, as also we've done in one of our previous videos. What is DNS in general, and why there is a special DNSSEC part inside DNS? What does it do, and what is the state today?
Sure. DNS is the abbreviation for domain name resolution. It's a standard which defines how website names can be resolved into IP addresses, both IPv4 and IPv6. And these IP addresses are used by the internet by the internet nodes to communicate to each other. And the whole idea of DNS is to have human-readable names instead of IP addresses, to make it more accessible, to make internet more accessible to humans. The initial DNS standard is very old. It didn't include the encryption and did not include any cryptographic verification of the DNS entries. So,
can you please cover, this is interesting, why the initial standard actually didn't include any encryption?
Didn't include because at the time the internet was not encrypted and was really, really small, and most people didn't think about this. Most professors, even at the university, they didn't use any passwords, and you just type your login, and that's it. No one thought about this at this time. It was like freedom mostly.
I just think it's important to understand the depth of how the whole security has been built around, and why we actually run into a lot of issues today with all these exploits, etc. Just so that also the audience understand how this has been developed and emerged in a safe environment, and no one actually ever thought that there will be, hackers, etc.
At some point, of course, the encryption and the verification of the entries became important. And we will not cover encryption here. DNSSEC is not about encryption, it's about verification. And by verification, we mean the cryptographic way of verifying that the DNS entry is valid and was issued by some trusted authority. And by DNS entry, we mean the mapping between the IP address and the human readable name, or any other mapping, because DNS can include basically any records.
From the usage perspective on the DNS, is it something that is just there on the internet, or is it something that also developers today, when they develop applications, have to deal with, also DNSSEC? And what is it, so that the audience can also understand who deals with this and for whom it can be important?
DNSSEC is used mostly for right now it's used by everyone, because people use human readable names not only in the browser but in the configuration as well. Configuration files on the server, configuration files on the IoT devices, etc., etc. So now it's widespread to use DNS names. So they, of course, want the verification of all the entries. And how it is done, how DNSSEC is implemented today, it's really difficult to describe in one sentence, because this standard is really, really complex, and this is the main reason why the vulnerabilities are still exist in this standard, and people find them and exploit them, and they're quite severe. But in short, the idea is to verify the server with the cryptographic key, cryptographic signature, and verify the entry, each individual DNS entry, again using the signature, which is derived from, actually I don't know, probably derived from server's signature. Maybe it's not server's, but something else. But you have these two types of signatures. And probably the surprising thing about DNSSEC is that not every website supports this DNSSEC, and if you want to resolve the name, the DNS name, at least I tested this on Linux. If you want to resolve DNS name which doesn't have the DNSSEC entry, it will still be resolved to the IP address, and there is no error.
So this is optional in this case.
Yeah, it's kind. This is verification is optional.
Why is actually verification important? Because I think that on the broader internet, I think people talk about encryption. So why is it actually important to verify where it's coming from? Maybe you can describe a couple of use cases that can happen if the website is not verified.
Well, I think that the general term for this is IP address spoofing, and this is the attack when you substitute the legitimate IP address with the address of someone else, and this way you can basically you can replace the website with another one. However, right now most of the websites they use HTTPS, which means that they also have SSL certificates, and using these certificates they also verify the identity of this website, and the certificate might include the IP address as well, and usually it includes the IP address. Of course, you can make a certificate which doesn't include address, like wildcard certificate, but it's frowned upon, and you shouldn't really do this if you're serious about security. So here we have so many layers of security. So if one layer is breached, then another one can replace it, at least to some extent.
We learned this now. That's one of the important layers on the internet, to actually be sure that the things that you see in your web browser are actually coming from the verified source. So what does it tell us a little bit more about this vulnerability and which implication it has, and what is it all about?
There is some magic packet that you can send to the server, and it will be overwhelmed by the response that it should generate for this packet. It's somehow linked with the keys, cryptographic keys, and other information that is needed to provide to the client. But so far we don't know many details. So basically, this vulnerability allows you to execute denial of service attack against DNS server.
Are there any specific DNS servers that they mention in this article that are specifically can be impacted by this magic packet, or is it like to a broader?
They mention Bind9 server, which is standard server, which is available on Linux. It's open source. They also mention a few big DNS providers like Cloudflare, Google, and PowerDNS. When the authors of this exploit, they contacted these companies to roll out fixes before making this public. But I believe it's, as the article says, it's the flaw in the DNSSEC specification that caused this vulnerability.
This vulnerability.
Yeah.
Do I get it right that specifically for the developers and security maintenance experts, there is nothing that can be done? We just have to wait that the DNS servers will be updated, or is there anything also on the client side that has to be provided?
If you run your own DNS servers, you should probably update them, but most likely you run them over your private network, so no one can exploit this vulnerability, probably. But still, you need to update the server just to be on the safe side.
All right. Thank you, Ivan. As we cover in all of our podcasts, the good defense is like onion. So you have to have security on multiple levels. As usual, we enjoy the time. Stay tuned and subscribe to our channel and post new topics that we can discuss here with you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.